Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Morgan DeNicola. She's the executive director of the DeNicola Family Foundation, and we'll learn from her how diplomatic thinking can transform global challenges into collaborative solutions. Welcome to the show, Morgan.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Morgan. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about how you are helping bridge humanity's divide with constructive dialogue and so many other things that you are doing. But before that, let me understand for the audience a bit about your background, about your journey, so that the audience knows better who they are listening to.
Absolutely. I actually went to school to be an elementary special education major, but I ended up following my parents are serial entrepreneurs. So I went into the business world for a while and realized that I wanted to give back. So we started a family foundation that does a lot of local work, but then it kind of expanded into being a global philanthropic endeavor. I also sit as the vice chair with an NGO that works with the United Nations, embassies around the world, as well as members of Congress and the Senate. And my job is to bring people together that normally wouldn't sit in a room and kind of cultivate these dialogues to learn from one another so we all can kind of benefit and continue to expand the way we think and who we engage with.
Right, Morgan. So, talking of, vice chair of the Humpty Dumpty Institute. Why Humpty Dumpty Institute? It reminds me of a poem from school. I don't want to say it's about the same thing. I want to understand from you why Humpty Dumpty. There are so many other names also.
Well, we like Humpty Dumpty because they were trying to put the pieces back together, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to put the pieces of the world back together. We're trying to bring people together and rebuild. So it's exactly like the nursery rhyme. Humpty Dumpty tried to put the pieces back together. So we're not all the king's horsemen and all the king's men. We are average, everyday people, and those are going to be the individuals that really put the pieces of this world back together.
Right. So let me understand for the audience better. How should they understand who is Morgan? Is she a diplomat? Is she a social worker? Is she a politician? Is she going to fight to be the next president of the United States of America? Tell us about, from a common person's perspective, how should they understand it?
It's actually been asked whether or not I'm going to go into politics, but I am not. I have no plans to go into politics. I prefer to help teach the individuals that are going into politics, that are making these policies. I like to say that I'm still a teacher. I'm an educator. I think that the importance of educating everybody that will be making laws, that will be making these big decisions, should have that full view of what's going on in the world, not just their own personal perspectives. So I like to say that I am your everyday person that just really values the perspectives of the world around me, the experience of the world around me. And I'm just kind of on a mission to bring people together to make things a little bit easier, to really learn from one another and to alleviate that stress and that anxiety of this is the way you should be living your life, or this is the way you should be seeing things. That the world is a lot more diverse. Everybody has a story to tell, and everybody, you can learn from every single person that you engage with. There is a value. So I like to just say that I am a teacher who is just trying to make the world a little bit better for everybody that I engage with.
Right. So how are you doing that? Means, what are the tools that you are employing? What are the places? World is a very big place. Even US itself is facing so many challenges in its own way. And globally, if you see each country with two wars already going on this planet, several places, hotspots in this planet. So I want to understand, where is it that you are doing? How is it that you are doing? Is it, and who are the people you are talking to? You talk about, the US Congress, US Department of State, UN, and so many. So I want to again understand, say somebody who is in the in one corner of my country here in India, and especially in a rural area, how should they understand what Morgan DeNicola is trying to do? How is she doing that?
Absolutely. Locally, I work with a lot of different organizations that are trying to overcome complex problems like hunger, not having enough school supplies. So locally, I work with a lot of different groups that are not only trying to remedy a lot of these issues, but have different perspectives on how we might be able to resolve a lot of these issues. We have a lot of charitable groups out there, but we're not all communicating with one another. So locally, I like to speak with the kids, speak with teachers, speak with community leaders and say, what are the issues that you are seeing and what are the solutions that you believe are working? And how can I connect those dots? So it's, how can I connect this group that's doing it this way with this group that's doing it this way, and kind of create these matches, these networks with one another that kind of alleviate the stress or those missing pieces. So I like to say I connect a lot of dots locally, globally. A lot of embassies have their missions. They will say, okay, this is the issue that we are facing. So then we reach out to different members of Congress or other individuals that have an interest or some input into how to remedy some of these situations. And we put them in a room to have these dialogues, not only of how they're living their lives, what is really going on, but also how can we all benefit and work with one another. So it depends on the mission of the embassy, and it depends on exactly what the members of Congress are looking for. Sometimes it's cultural enlightenment, which are wonderful trips to learn about how each country does things a little bit different and how we can kind of bring our ideas back and forth. So again, it's a lot like being a teacher, getting a bunch of kids together to do group projects and kind of creating these conversations, and really learning from one another, because it's one thing to have these conversations but not really walk away with anything, and it's a completely different thing to continue to encourage the engagement with one another. So globally, I listen to the needs and see if I can help. And if I can, we reach out as a group to see what we can do, what kind of programs we can create to kind of start this way of thinking. And then we continue to engage even afterwards to see what everybody is up to, what they would like to see different, how we can improve upon it. So I'm a soundboard. I am here to listen to everyone that I engage with. And then I just kind of go to work on, okay, this person would be great for you to speak with. And then I put them together. And that's kind of what I really enjoy doing, and a big part of what I do on my day to day.
Right, Morgan. So you lay a lot of emphasis on the power of democracy, on the power of constructive dialogue. Uh, is your diplomacy different than the diplomacy of diplomats? Because that seems to be not working the way people want to see it. Globally, you see it, and everywhere it looks like that a lot of them is just talk. Nobody wants to walk the talk. So I want to understand what kind of diplomacy that you talk about or deal with.
I think we've lost along the way the benefit of listening and what it actually takes to listen. We do a lot of preaching. I like to say preaching from a morality standpoint, and we don't really realize that that concept depends on the time in history. it depends on where we're at. The way I live my life is going to be completely different than the way you are living your life. And I think we forget that it is so beneficial for me to listen, because there is always something that you can learn. And we have this kind of narrow way of, we want to be the one true voice. My way is the right way. And a lot of the time saying my way is the right way, it's your right way. But you can't say that on such a global or way of being and a way of thinking, because we have never, there is not a human on this planet that has experienced everything. And through that, you cannot say you're the ultimate voice of truth. The only way you can say that this is my truth, but you can't even say that unless you've experienced everything. And I think that a lot of people forget that there's so much power in your self-control and your ability to listen more than your ability to talk. And I think that people forget that that is such an incredible superpower in your own life, in your anxieties, your depressions, how you work with your coworker. If you are a person that can listen, you're a person that's approachable. So you have a tendency to get more honesty from people, and you will continue to learn and you will continue to grow. So I think that we've lost this ability to realize they're really, you can't make it as simplistic as my way is the right way. My way is the truth. This is my experience. What is your experience? And let's kind of find a common ground. But people have a tendency to go with groups that are very similar to ourselves. And in that process, there is no expansion. There is no growth. There just becomes this way of concrete thinking. And that can actually be incredibly dangerous. So I think that we need to remind ourselves that we are elastic beings with every experience, with every conversation. Our opinions can change. Our experiences can change, and growth is good. And we shouldn't shame another person. Oh, well, you said this 2 months ago. Well, I may have said that 2 months ago, but I had a recent experience or a recent conversation that has made me kind of rethink that way. And that's really where the power lies, in your ability to have that elasticity and to continue to grow and to continue to learn. So I like to kind of engage with these individuals that sometimes forget that. Sometimes you have to be a reminder of that, and not by being aggressive, but by listening and engaging.
Right, Morgan. You talk to a lot of people. You have lots of work to do, even as a executive director of the DeNicola Family Foundation, as the vice chair of the Humpty Dumpty Institute. Do you think your work is difficult? It is going to be difficult tomorrow? Or do you think the world is moving in the right direction, that things will be much, much better? Or are you preparing yourself for a long fight? Because everyone is looking world in a very different direction. Either you talk of mental health, if you look at the way, the world is shaping out, looking at Europe, even looking at the US, new president coming in, lots of people are trying to understand what that means to them. Lots of globally, countries are watching out what it means to them. So in that aspect, since your work involves a lot around those things, how do you view the world today? We are, if you look at it even from the doomsday clock, we are very close to midnight as per that clock.
Yes. I find that I'm in for a very long and difficult fight is the right word, but I kind of don't like it. Like I said, we've become very combative, but I feel as though the reason we become very combative is fear. And we close ourselves off when we become very fearful. will kind of put up those walls, either culturally or, you're seeing it in the United States with elections. You're seeing it with religion. And that is very fear-based. So I feel like, yes, it's going to be a very long, difficult journey. But for me, it's easy in a sense that I immediately, in going in a room where the tension is high, every room you go into, the tension is high because of fear. It has a lot to do with fear, and news and social media escalates this. It just is, we click on certain things that kind of raise our blood pressure, or we continue to watch certain things, but it's not really reality. The conversations, if you go out and you just have conversations, which I know, at least in the United States, for the young generation, simple conversations seem to be very stressful and full of a lot of anxiety. The more you practice this, a simple hello, making eye contact, and having these open dialogues, you'll realize there's such a common thing being said behind everybody, and that's, we're scared and we feel alone. And it's kind of fascinating. If the whole world feels scared and alone, that's something we have in common. That is something that we can very easily remedy by being a person that is approachable, by being a person that is somebody that you can have a conversation with. But in order to do that, you need a lot of self-control and a lot of confidence in yourself, and a lot of confidence in who you want to be. So I like to say, when going into every room, I take an observer standpoint. And in having any conversation, I take an observer standpoint. My thoughts, my beliefs, how I stand takes a backseat, because I know how I think, I know how I feel. So that's going to take a backseat. And I'm going to come in as an observer. I'm going to come in as a soundboard. I'm going to be somebody that you can be in a room with and feel, oh, this person is alleviating my stress. This person is making me feel like I can have an open and honest conversation with them without judgment. And through those open, calm conversations, we can find common ground, and we can grow together and learn from one another. We can all be this place to go where people can feel seen and heard. And it's amazing what we can accomplish when doing that, because Morgan, that's in the backseat, is still going to be in the backseat. And when I go home, I'll be out, I'll have my opinions, I'll do whatever it is that I can do. But again, it goes back to that personal accountability, that superpower of calm, respond, don't react, listening to one another, because that's really where the power is for ourselves. And that really is where the power is in this kind of coming together and creating. You have to kind of come at all of these situations as a clear, clean slate. And we're having a hard time doing that, again, because we have our preconceived notions and our preconceived thoughts. And we think just because we've read the title of a Facebook article that we now know everything about this country, about what's going on over here, when we have to kind of take everything with a grain of salt and have this understanding of, like, we don't. And the only way we will know is to come at it as a clean slate and to just kind of engage in these thought-provoking, non-intimidating conversations. And it becomes easier and easier, and you'll see your personal anxieties go down, because with each of these conversations, you're less nervous about being in a room with a person who's different than you. You're less nervous about having these conversations, and you don't feel the need to defend yourself or your beliefs, because you know what you believe, you know what you think. There's not that need for that aggression or that defense of self. You can be whoever you want to be in that situation, and you can be a light, you can be a bridge, you can be so much more than what you originally were anticipating going into that conversation as. So I think it's a long fight. I think it's something that everybody can do. with practice, just like lifting weights. You get stronger and it gets easier, and you will enjoy it. You'll enjoy learning a new perspective. You'll enjoy bringing people together. You'll enjoy creating these groups that can solve more complex issues, that you can really achieve a lot more if you keep calm and you listen and you engage.
Absolutely. One last topic I want to know your view on is here, because you talk about it a lot, about mental health.
Yes.
With the type of world, with the type of social media we have got, with the type of uh, organizations who are reluctant to, look at it the way a lot of people want to look at it, how do you plan, or how are you tackling this issue of mental health? Because a lot of it is deriving out of the social media content that we are consuming. How do you see this whole mental health thing panning out in the coming days? How would you tackle it, as part of what you are doing?
The mental health is a real global issue. A lot of it, again, is something that can be resolved with very small steps. And that's seeing things on social media and not engaging. That's realizing that you have an algorithm. The more you view certain things, the more they're going to pop up, and that you can change that. The knowledge of this being a very unhealthy, anxiety driving, depression driving, you need to understand that it's not real. I think that that's a very big issue. Is we need to use it as entertainment, because that's what it is. It's entertainment. It's not more than that. But personally, I think that walking away from it, giving yourself time, putting it down, putting it away, doing very small, healthy living things, eating healthier, engaging in more productive, thought-provoking conversations, and learning that you ultimately have the control of the value that you put into anything. And I think we also are kind of forgetting that, having a stranger come up to you and call you a slur, you ultimately assign value to that. I think we make up excuses a lot of the times. I'm this, I'm that, so I'm going to act this way, or I'm going to feel this way. And we spiral, and we get very comfortable in those ways of thinking, even though we don't like the way it makes us feel. It's comfortable, it's familiar. And you have to do things that make you uncomfortable to get out of these cycles. So I think that you see it a lot in philanthropy, charity, government, policy making. Depression and anxiety it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. But we aren't taking the steps to claim our personal responsibility as well as our own power, and assigning value to things, walking away from things, reserving your own energy to feel good. Like, we don't realize, hey, I'm not going to engage in this. I'm going to go engage in this that makes me feel good, that is a healthy way of being or a healthy way of thinking. You have control, you have power, and you have personal responsibility. Own yourself, own your responsibility, and know what you need to do to be healthier. Take responsibility of that and start doing it, even though it's going to be incredibly uncomfortable. So my big thing, and as somebody who has been in therapy for 15 years, who has worked with therapists, psychiatrists, the personal accountability is so key to starting to live a healthier life. And that involves putting down the phone, changing the channel, finding the things that you like, eating healthier, getting off the sofa and walking and exercise, fresh air. These are things that you need to do, even if you say, I don't have the time, I don't. you have to find a way to make the time. You have to find a way to really go through these activities that will make you feel uncomfortable at first, but down the road make you feel better. So I think a lot of it is find the people that you enjoy being around. Don't have them be the only people that you're around, because that, again, doesn't help you grow as a human being. But when you're in a bad place, start to experiment on the things that make you feel better. A cup of tea, certain aromatherapies, going to a certain place. Disconnect from your device, turn off the TV. Unless you like putting on a movie that makes you feel good, then go ahead. But I think a lot of it is self learning the things you like and you dislike, and getting yourself up, out, moving, and learning different techniques, and taking that personal accountability, and remembering at the end of the day, you control what you put your energy, your effort, and a lot of your thought in. You can control that.
Absolutely. There is much to learn from you, Morgan, and I'm sure a lot of people would like to connect with you, with your organizations. So, what's the best way for them to do so?
The DeNicola Family Foundation, you can go on there. You can very easily email me off of there. My personal email's on there. I'm also on social media. Our foundation is on social media. My social media is actually Morgan Sliker DeNicola. Feel free to reach out. I'm always willing to speak with individuals that want to have these conversations. I'm available and really enjoy engaging and helping people through their day-to-day lives.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you. It was a privilege.